This is Sober Nurse 2018. This is a recording about from March 9th, 2025, and this is Beverly A. It comes into a part. She had just said that her father was a horrible alcoholic, raging alcoholic, something like that.
And I did hate the alcohol, though, and I hated the disease. But I didn't realize it was a disease back then. But I grew up and got married. Actually, I've been married 5 times. I don't do good with marriages. I don't do good with intimate relationships of that sort. But I became a nurse. I had 2 children. I graduated from nursing school when my kids were, I believe they were about 4 and 10, 4 and 9, something like that. And I was working as a nurse. And when I was in high school, I never really did drugs, or I never really drank that much. I'm older than most of you, so I don't know if you guys remember Quaaludes. If any of you remembers those. I did take those a couple times, and I remember I really liked the way that they made me feel. But I was working as a nurse, and I had a terrible headache one day, and I took a Vicodin out of the medication cart. And I went home that night, and I bathed the kids, I did laundry, I cleaned the house. It gave me so much energy that I knew I wanted that feeling again. And my drug addiction quickly spiraled because I started stealing pills, and before you knew it, I was injecting morphine just to get the same high that I had originally gotten from the Vicodin. I ended up losing my nursing license, and then I had to turn to other drugs, to street drugs, because I couldn't get the pharmaceuticals anymore. There comes a point where in my life, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump around a little bit, where my kids by this time, it took several years, but my kids by this time were, my daughter was, I think she was 18 or 19, and she had a child of her own. And JD, that's my son, JD, he hated me. He hated the drugs. He hated the fact that I lied about doing the drugs. And he made a choice to go live with my mom. And I hate to say it, but I was actually glad, because he hindered my drug use. I'm going to get a drink here. But my drug use completely took over everything. It's all that I ever wanted to do. I worked simply to make money to do drugs. So time goes on, and I, because of friends or family or whatever, I have went to treatment a couple times, and I've made some sincere efforts to try to get clean. But I didn't really want to get clean. I was just doing it to keep people off my back, to keep people happy. So I would always go back to using drugs. My drug use got to a point where I was sleeping with people just to get the money to get high. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of my drug use. I had hit rock bottom. My kids were no longer speaking to me. They hated my guts. My parents had both deceased. And when my mom was alive, she was a huge enabler of mine too. I'm going to tell you a little story. I love my mother dearly, and I wish I had one more conversation with her. But at the end of my mom's life, she had cancer, and she was on all kinds of pain pills, and she knew that I liked pain pills. And in my mom's mind, if she would give me 6 of her pain pills a day, that would keep me off the streets. So I would go over to her house every morning and get her 6 pain pills, which only gave me the energy to keep running. But I would lie to her and tell her, this is good, Mom, this is good, and I won't do anything else today. But I don't know if you're a drug addict. If you know a drug addict, we do lie, and we do anything just to get one more. And I'm ashamed of the things I did today. I can't believe I did them, but I did. But I really don't know. Oh, and I'm going to tell you another mom story. Okay, so there comes a point, and I did steal from my mom too. So there came a point where my brother and my sister called my mom, and they changed the locks on her house so that Beverly couldn't get in anymore. And my mom called me and said, come over to the house. There's something taped underneath the lawn chair on the front porch for you. But if you tell your brother and sister that I gave it to you, I'll deny it. Well, it was the key to the new lock. It's, Mom, I'm trying, you know, and it's like I was so glad that they locked me out because I would go over and steal her pain meds. And she had cancer, and I thought I needed them more than she did. But I got right back in. Anyways, so I wish that I knew what it was that made me want to stop and get clean. Because if I knew what it was, I am a drug addict and I always think in pill form, I would bottle it and sell it. But I don't know. I do think I know. For me, I had lost everything. I had lost everything. I was literally living out of my car, which the bank was trying to repossess. I had nothing. My kids weren't speaking to me. My brother and sister were no longer speaking to me. I had nothing. And there's this little clubhouse in Middletown called Traditions Clubhouse. I don't know if any of you know of it or if any of you have been there. But when I did have periods of sobriety or tried to have periods of sobriety, that's where I went to meetings. And I remember I called one of the guys down there one day and I said, if I don't quit getting high, I'm going to die. And he told me about this place in Falmouth, Kentucky. It was a care unit. They don't have them anymore. They closed them. But you could go down there and he called and he said, they said if you go down there, they'll give you a bed. So I drove my little car down there to Falmouth, Kentucky. And I got there, and I went in, and I told them who I was, and I had a different last name then, because I've had several different last names, because I've been married 5 times, and I took each one of their names. But I went down there, and I sat in their lobby, and they said, if you really want this, the bed won't be available until 9 p.m. tonight. If you stay until 9 p.m., the bed will be yours. And I remember sitting in that lobby, and the nurses were really good. They came out and they gave me a little dinner tray, and they kept checking on me. And I was a mess, y'all. I was a mess. I was crying. Part of me wanted to leave and say just one more day of getting high, but I knew I had come that far, and I was bound and determined. I just wanted, I wanted peace of mind. So I went into that treatment program, and that's the two things I wanted most out of recovery. Number one was peace of mind. I wanted to lose the obsession to quit getting high, because that's all I thought about. And I don't know if you're a drug addict like this drug addict, but I got up in the morning thinking about it, and when I was in active use, I would buy enough drugs or get enough drugs. Maybe I didn't buy them all the time. But I would think I would have enough drugs, because this is what I wanted to do in my mind. Have enough drugs to get me through the day, and then enough to get up and use so that I could get on the run. But every time I did that, I used everything I had before I went to sleep. I could never accomplish my goals. So, but anyways, I went to this treatment center in Falmouth, Kentucky, and there was they had a church service every Sunday and Wednesday, and this guy came in, and he had a little guy that played a guitar with him, and they came in, and I was in treatment, and I needed the Lord, and I would go in there, and I would go to every church service, Sunday and Wednesday, twice a week. And back then, I want you to think about this, sober living homes are very prevalent today, and you don't usually have to pay money up front to get into one, or at least the ones I know of, you don't. But back then, I'm talking 10 years ago, there was one sober living in Covington, Kentucky, and it was ran by a place called Mental Health of America, and you had to have $385 before they would give you a bed. I didn't have a dime. I didn't have a dime to my name. And I remember I called my sister and I told her, I can get into this sober living home if you'll help me get in, but I need $385. And she said, Beverly, I'll write a check to them for half of the amount, but if you want this, you'll figure out how to get the other half. I mean, it might have well been $1 million to me, because I didn't know how I was going to get that $100 and whatever dollars it was. I didn't have it, and nobody was speaking to me. But remember I said there was a little church service every Sunday and Wednesday, and this pastor said, if anything's on your heart, share it. And I just told him, and you know, and everybody was like, oh, you'll get the money, it'll work out, you'll get the money, you'll get into that sober living. And I was going to discharge the very next day. And I had this check that my sister had mailed me to Mental Health of America, but I didn't have the other half of that money. And I mean, I was fretting, because at this time, I had been there for about 3 weeks. I wasn't going to use. I knew no matter what, I was done. 2 things I wanted most from recovery. Number one was peace of mind. I wanted to lose the obsession to use. And the second thing I wanted back was my family. I wanted my kids to talk to me again. I wanted to be a mom again. And I wanted my brother and sister to respect me and love me. I'm sorry. So I'm getting out the next day. I've got half the money. I'm in the group room, or you know how treatment centers are. We're hanging out, and I feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders because I don't have that money. And there's a call over the intercom. Beverly, you have a visitor. And I'm thinking, a visitor? Nobody comes to visit me. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. And it was the pastor of the church. And he said, my wife and I believe in you. Here's the other half of the money. And he gave me cash. Cash to a drug addict. Not a check like my sister had done. And I said, Pastor, I am not going to let you down. This man didn't know me from Adam. He didn't owe me nothing. But he seen something in me. And there was no way I was going to let this man down. So I went to that sober living, and for 18 months I lived in Covington, Kentucky. Anybody that knows me knows that I have an 859 area code on my phone number. That's because that's where my life started, in Covington, Kentucky. So I've got an 859 Covington phone number. And so I was still legally married to a man at the time, and he sees how great I'm doing in treatment. And then the sober living. Now, mind you, I've got some time now. I've got about 18 months. I'm doing it, and I think I'm like queen of recovery. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to Traditions Club. Not Traditions. I'm sorry. I'm going to the clubhouses down in Covington. And he's calling, and I'm thinking, maybe I could go back to Middletown. Maybe I could go back there. Thanks, Debbie. And I have to leave the sober living. I've been there for 18 months. They're like, your time's up. You got to do something. So I go back, and I'm speaking to my daughter a little bit on the phone. She doesn't trust me, but she's at least accepting my calls. I'm not speaking to my son at all. He won't take my calls. I don't know what he's doing. I know he's in school. I'm getting little bits of information from my daughter, but he was done with my lying ass. Sorry, there it goes. So I come back to Middletown, and I move in with my 5th husband, and I'm there for about a week. And if you're a drug addict, you're going to know how huge this is. I know within 1 week, if I speak to that man again, I'm going to get high. That is how much I hated him. So I called my daughter and I said, if I don't get out of this house, I'm going to get high. She goes, well, we're going to get you an apartment. So we found this little, I don't know if any of you know anything about Middletown, but I found a little ghetto apartment on the corner of Casper and Grimes. They called the area the Skillet. I thought it was because everybody was fried down there, but my daughter told me that if you fly over it with an airplane, that neighborhood is shaped like a skillet. But I'm going to go with my opinion better. What I say it is better. Because I bought lots of drugs in that neighborhood, and I was so serious about my recovery that when I got this apartment, it at one time had been a trap house. And people were constantly knocking on the door asking for Tony. Sorry, Tony, no offense. And I said, Tony doesn't live here. I don't do drugs. If you don't get off my porch, I'm calling the police. Something had changed, and I don't know if it was that this was the first time I had legitimately not done drugs in a while, and around this time, I didn't think about getting high every day. I still thought a lot about it, but not every day. And I'm at a meeting at Traditions Clubhouse one night, and I'm sitting with a couple of my girls, and I don't know if you guys go to 12-step meetings, but if you do, every time somebody new comes in, every head turns, and it's like, oh, what's their story? Are they single? Whatever. So, sorry, I'm still human. But I had my back to the door, and one of my friends said, now that's a tall, good-looking drink of water. And I turned around and I said, that's not a drink of water, that's my baby. And it was my son. And when JD was little, and I told you I had periods where I would try to get clean, and I would stay clean, sometimes for a month, sometimes for 3 months. And we would go to 12-step meetings. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm kind of breaking it a little bit, but JD was about 12 years old, and we were at a 12-step meeting, Narcotics Anonymous in Dayton, Ohio, and it was a Friday night meeting, and every Friday, this guy named Ron would come in, and he would say, hi, my name's Ron, I'm an addict, I got high and shit my pants again. And everybody would go, thanks for sharing, Ron. So one night, JD, we went to that Friday night meeting, I think we were going every Friday. So one night, Ron stands up and does that, and everybody's clapping, and JD raises his hand, and he says, Mr. Chairman, can I say something? And the chairman goes, sure, son. And JD goes, Mr. Ron, I think if you quit doing heroin, you'd quit shitting your pants. Which is true. And I don't know why that made him crap himself, but that's what he said. So, anyways, so JD walks into this meeting, and I walk up and I hug him and I said, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I don't know, I just thought I'd take in a meeting. And of course we start laughing, and he said, can we talk after the meeting? And I went, yeah, of course. And let me back up for a minute. So JD wrote a book. It's called Hillbilly Elegy. And I'm still not getting high, but my daughter calls me and she says, Mom, JD wrote a book, and it's on the bestsellers list, and he's flying us all out to New York for a big party for him. And I said, is he flying me too? And she said, no, Mom, he doesn't want you there. And I think I've got about 18 months, 2 years clean, and I called my sponsor, and I said, fuck it. Oh, sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I'm doing all this stuff. All I pray for is peace of mind in my kids and my brother and my sister. And he won't even speak to me. And my sponsor said, Bev, this might get as good as it gets. Are you going to use over this? And that really hit me. Because for a minute I thought, am I? Because I'm not getting everything that I'm asking for from God. You know what I'm saying? But I thought about it, and I thought, no, I'm not, because my life is good. I've got a job. I've paid off that little car that I was hiding from. I've got a ghetto apartment that I love because it's mine. You know, my daughter is speaking to me. I get to babysit my grandkids, my older grandkids sometimes. You know, life's pretty good. I'm not trading it in. And so, fast forward about a year, maybe 2 years. I have no concept of time. I apologize. But we're back at the AA meeting at Traditions Clubhouse, and JD walks in and he says, "Mom, I need to talk to you after the meeting." Now, mind you, I have not spoken to my son in about 4 years. He won't take my calls. He won't speak to me. And I'm like, you know, what do you want to talk to me about? And he said, I just want to talk to you. He said, they are going to make a movie out of the book, and you're not going to be portrayed very favorable. And he said, "Mom, honestly, I thought you'd be dead. I didn't think you'd live this long. And if you want me to call the whole thing off, I will, because I don't want you to get high behind this." And I said, "Well, do you think this will help you heal?" And he said, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Don't call nothing off. My shoulders are broad today. I got God with me. I got my clubhouse. I got my people. I'm not getting high today." But something happened. I don't know what happened that night, but something happened, because we are hillbillies, and we went to Waffle House, which is one of our favorite restaurants, and we ate, and we laughed, and we talked about things, and it was a really good night. And I went home and I felt really good. And I'm not sure what happened. I don't know. Maybe he seen that I was really doing the deal. I don't know. But I praise God for it. And so, you know, we're not like, he's not like calling me every night or nothing. It's not like that. It's like I'm still doing the reaching out, and, you know, he's still kind of standoffish, but a little bit of time goes by, and he said, I get a call one night, and he's met this beautiful girl in college, and she's pregnant, and he says, "Usha's in labor. Do you want to come up and be here when the baby's born?" They were living in Columbus, Ohio at the time. And I said, "Absolutely." So I go to Columbus, and we're all at the hospital. You know, and then he comes out to the waiting room, and he says, "The baby's not going to be born tonight, so why don't you guys all go get a motel room, and I'll call you when it happens." And I remember Usha's parents were there, and they went to get a hotel room, and my daughter was there with a couple of her kids, and they went to get a hotel room, and I'm going to go get a hotel room. And Janie goes, "Mom, would you go to my house and let the dogs out and take the trash out, and just stay there?" And I'm thinking, that's what you'd ask your mom to do. You know, like, he's handing me a key to his house that I've never been to, with dogs that I've never met. But hell yeah, I'm going. And I did. And it's like, I did. Because that's what you ask your mom to do. You know what I'm saying? And I know that doesn't seem huge. But if your kids haven't spoken to you, and you're the one they asked to do that for them, it touched my heart. Anyways, the next day, he called at about 6 a.m. You know, he's coming. So we all rushed back to the hospital. And I remember walking in, and he was sitting on the couch holding this little bundle, and he looked up and he said, "Mom, would you like to hold your grandson?" And I said, "Yeah." And we're sitting there, and I honestly think that when he looked at that little boy and he realized that no matter what, the love of a parent for their child is unconditional. No matter what they do for the rest of their lives. I love my kids unconditionally. And I said, this is what I wanted out of recovery. I got peace of mind, and now I've got my kids back.
Amen.
And so now I think I'm going to try to go back and get that nursing license back that I screwed up so bad. The Ohio Board of Nursing is tough. They're very, one of my friends calls them restrictive. I call them punitive. Because I know a bunch of people in recovery who are social workers, and they don't seem to have any trouble getting their licenses reinstated. But nurses, we got to jump through hoops. Long story short, I did get my nursing license. I do work in the field of recovery, and it's my passion. And I want everybody to have what I have. And no, life on this side of the desk is not perfect. You know, I still don't have all the money I want. I'm not 29 and a model. But I would much rather be on this side of the desk than that side of the desk. Life in recovery is good. It's really good. Now remember, this is a kid that didn't speak to me for 4 years. Probably longer, I don't remember. But whenever they made the movie, we got paid. I got paid very well. And I remember I'm on the phone and JD goes, what are you going to do with your money, Mom? And I said, I'm going to buy a house. And he goes, oh, that's a wise investment. So, I said, thank you. So anyway, I didn't get paid like he got paid, but I got paid. Anyways, I'm like telling my kids, like, oh, I found this little house there, and it sits on an acre, and they're going, Mom, you don't need an acre of land. You're not young anymore. Who's going to mow it for you? Well, me. Oh, Mom, you're so unrealistic. So my daughter calls me one day, and she says, Mom, there's this condo I really want you to go see. And it's like, a condo? That's just like a friggin' apartment. I don't want a condo. But I'm walking through it, and it is beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I love it. And we're walking around, and it's me and my daughter. And my first clue that something was wrong should have been when she was able to know the code to that little realtor lock and get right in, because she's not a realtor. But we're walking around, and then the door, and I'm harassing her about it. Well, then we hear the doorbell, and Lindsay's my daughter, and Lindsay goes, I wonder who that could be. And I said, probably the police, because you broke in here. But you're going down for this, not me, sis. So we answer the door, and it's my son. And Lindsay and him, their eyes meet, and Lindsay says, she loves it. And JD hands me keys. And he said, I bought it for you. And he said, that's for staying clean for 5 years. So that was in my 5-year plea. And so I told him back then, you're going to have to really come up with something good for 10. Because I got a 5. What are you going to give me for 10? A yacht? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm in my little condo, and, I like I said earlier, I don't do good with relationships. But, I got lonely. And excuse me, so my sponsor said, get a dog. So I said, okay, I'll get a dog. So I tell my daughter I want to get a dog, and we find this place in Kentucky, and we drive down there, and I'm looking at all these dogs, and they're like, they're cute and everything, but there's a glass window about this size, not very big, and I look through it, and I see a dog in there, and I said, can I see that dog? And they said, oh no, that dog's gonna be euthanized. She's untrainable and she bites. And I said, well, can I pet her? And they said, you have to sign this paper. Well, I'm telling you, that's my dog today. And I love her. Her name is Belle, And we're just two old ladies. Belle's had a hard life. I've had a hard life. But I'm not lonely anymore because I take care of Belle. And I've got my job, and I've got my recovery, and I've got my family. And I'm sitting on the couch one day, and I get this telephone call, and to my daughter, and she's crying, and she says, "Mom, can I please come and stay with you because Kevin and I are getting a divorce." She had been married for 26 years, and I'm sad that they got a divorce, but that's what you ask your mom to do, you know? And thank God I had a place, and thank God I'm clean, and thank God that we, you know, that Belle and I had the room for her to come and stay with us. And she goes, "Mom, I'll only be here for a few months. I'll get back on my feet." Well, that was 2 years ago, but that's okay. Because I like having her there. And we just kind of work it out, you know. Although every month she says, "I'm going to give you a little bit of money this month," and I've yet to see $1, but that's okay. But so you guys probably know my son is the vice president, and you know, we had to go for the inauguration and all that, and they gave us all a different. We all had an itinerary, and when I got my itinerary at the actual ceremony, I had to be at wherever I was. I don't know because I had a driver. At a certain time in the morning, and I called one of JD's staff people, and I said, "It says here I'm supposed to be on stage." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Are you sure he meant me? Because he doesn't really like me that much." And she said, "Does he call anybody else Mom?" And I went, "No, I don't think so." And she said, "He specifically said, I want Usha, my kids, and my mom." Wow. And that is what recovery has given me. And like I said before, I don't know what made me finally want to stop. I truly don't. I know, I think for me, my bottom was really low. I had lost everything. I had my drug friends, but they weren't really friends. They just wanted to get high themselves. But I had nothing. I had nobody. I had no money. I was homeless. I literally was sleeping around just to get one more high. And that's pathetic. But it's reality. And I wished I knew what made me, what makes anybody, what would work for anybody. Because like I said, I work in the field of recovery, and sometimes it's like a revolving door, and it's heartbreaking because I see the potential in some of these people, and all of these people actually, and they don't see it in themselves. But I can promise you, if you're on the fence, or if you are a drug addict and you're wanting recovery, this is so much better. It truly is. I mean, you feel your feelings, and sometimes that's hard, but you got to just walk through it. It gets better. And whatever you ask God to give you, I guarantee you, if you made a list, you'd be surprised. He'll grant you your list and 3 pages more on your list. I have things I never thought I would have just because I'm in recovery. Getting to come here, because of the platform, because of who JD is, I've been given a huge platform to speak about recovery, and I'm so honored, because if you knew me then, I was, like I said, I was a low-bottom drug addict. And it's such an honor to come and speak to people and try to give them just a little bit of hope. My life today is wonderful. I live in that little condo with my daughter and my dog, Belle. I speak to my son at least twice a week. And it's because he calls me, because I'm very busy. You know, one more thing. You know, JD, right after President Trump asked JD to be his running mate, JD and Usha had this trip planned to go to Ireland. And I kept their kids for a whole week. This is a man that trusts me enough to keep his kids for a whole week. I can't tell you about the blessings of recovery. There's so many, and I don't really know what else. I don't know, but if you're thinking about stopping, please stop. You know, we've got tons of treatment centers around here, and they're all very good. And sober livings are, you know, they're very easy to get into today. And I recommend that you try a different way of life if you're in active addiction. And if you're in recovery, stay strong. It's going to be tough some days, but just don't pick up. If you don't put it in your hand, you can't get high. Push through. Talk to somebody. Pray. God's always there. Reach out to another addict. They'll help you get through it. I love you all. My name's Beverly. Thanks for listening.
All right, that was Beverly A, and that was at a Celebrate Recovery meeting in Lebanon, Ohio on March 9th at, I think we started like 7, but the year was 2025. I got a lot out of that meeting, and I'm very thankful that I went. It was actually, this time was my second time listening to that. By the way, my name is Sober Nurse 2018, and I have 7 years, 3 months, and 15 days sober. Excuse me. Some of the things that I got out of this is, you know, that she cannot believe what she did in her addiction. She doesn't ever see herself, you know, doing that now. I definitely identify with that. Unbelievable what I did. Never would have saw myself being what I was. Going out of my way, you know, to get things, alcohol, searching the couches. You know, the worst thing that happened to me is when Country Fair here in Erie County decided to sell alcohol, and cheap. That just opened the floodgate for me. I just wanted everybody out of my way so that I could sleep and just sleep and sleep and sleep. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live, and I definitely was not living. I lost everything. I lost the family farm. That is a whole other story that's absolutely ludicrous and unbelievable how all that happened. But God knows me, and He knows that I'm hard-headed, and unless He just does things for me, I don't give up, give out, or give in. I lost my family, my kids. I have 5 children. Nobody was speaking to me. My oldest son had me 302'd and/or Baker acted a couple of times. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. I stole pills from my sister and my mom. I stole 1 or 2 from my little brother. Not proud of any of that, but that's what I did. I've never done illicit drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette or gotten high, although I'm told that probably that would help. I know that I could not do those things because I'd be off and running. If I did, you know, as much as I love opiates, good God, if I did heroin or anything, I would be dead today. Absolutely. Thank you, Jesus, my higher power, that I never picked anything like that up. I've never done anything like methamphetamine or anything like that. It was prescription pills or it was alcohol. Yeah, I definitely would be dead. Thank you, God, that I am here when I am today. I don't do well with relationships. Like she had said, I had been married for 30 years. However, and when it comes to relationships, I would say that I am kind of like a sprinter. I'm not in it for the long term. I like to be very serious. I want to help people. I want you to be okay. I wouldn't be a very good long-term counselor. I just, I just, I'm a lot like my dad. My dad is in recovery and an alcoholic, and he would be, say, did that feel good? It's time to get sober. What the hell's the problem here? Let's go. And back in those days, he would help people and take them into Serenity, drunk houses. So anyways, that's one of the ways that I identify with her, is that I've never really had a deep down sponsor. I still kind of looking for that experience, although I am stable in my recovery. I just have not done deep stuff that I know that I need to do. As far as the movie goes, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know who her son was. I was like, who the F is that? Anything like that. I ended up watching it this past August. And I actually stopped it for a hot minute because, I heard overdose, and I had to look up and see if she was dead, because I'm like, she's dead, that's it, I'm done. I can't watch this. But she wasn't, and it was really, really good. There was a lot of things that I could identify with. I could come in and out of several of the characters. JD's grandmother, her mom, reminds me a lot of my mother-in-law, Okay, so anyways, I recommend watching the movie if you would like to. It was good for me. Some other sober movies. There's one that, there's Smash, there's 28 Days. A lot of these ones that they have out now are really good. Really, really good. I think it's Muriel's Wedding or something like that. That's a good one too. As far as keeping sober, or my suggestions are, this is one, painting. I crocheted until the cows came home. This past summer, I've had some really heart-wrenching, looking into my soul stuff happen. And a lot of it has to do with my nursing license. I have not used, I have not gotten drunk, I haven't done anything like that. It's just one of those things like what happened with my house. It's unbelievable what has happened. And I am not working right now as a nurse. My license is still on probation. And if anybody wants to talk about anything like that, I really and seriously have been in the depths of dark reflection. This is March 15th of 2025, and I really wasn't doing too well today, and so I decided to listen and to do this. Sobriety comes 10 minutes at a time, guys. At first, especially, don't pick up the first whatever it is. Stay out of those places. I know that it's easier said than done, but good Lord, if I did it, anyone can do it. But 10 minutes at a time, 24 hours a day, or one day at a time was difficult for me. When I was in rehab, my mother had wrote me a letter, and so this here, is her handwriting at the bottom of that letter, one day at a time. And I took that and had it done, and two of my girls have had it put on to them too. But it is one day at a time. My spirit guide animal is the camel. The camel goes down on its knees, to drink, and I can go down on my knees to pray. an animal can go a camel can go a long time without drinking. And that's just one of the things that's about that. There's a whole poem about it. I'll share it in a different video. So anyway, I hope this wasn't too choppy for everybody. It's 10 minutes at a time, and we can get through this. We can get through this. If anybody is having difficulty with their state boards of nursing, or has gone through a bunch of bull crap, please get a hold of me. Please get a hold of me. Right now I'm kind of in a lonely area of my life, and I feel I'm navigating this alone. So if you want to email me, it's Josie Bucati, JosieBucKatti @gmail.com. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Beverly, for your experience, strength, and hope. And everybody take care. My ending line is, if nothing changes, nothing changes.